Hey everybody, Mr. O here. I'm going over Rivers of the World, which is week 18's daily geography. So of course we always start with the title, and that's where I came up with Rivers of the World. Whenever you look at a map, that's where you begin, is the title. Then I'm going to kind of look around as always, and I can see that I've got a little bit of a legend here. It looks like these are all numbered 1 through 16. And if I go up here into the map, I can start to see that I just need to match up, for example, this river, number 2, and come down here to my legend, and that tells me that this right here is number 2, and that's the Colorado River. So that's kind of how this map is going to work. Now, something else with this map. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of information about these rivers that is not shown on the map. Remember, sometimes we have text at the bottom of the map. This one, we don't have text, and so I'm going to give you a little bit of info here that you're not going to get from your map, which basically means if you're watching this video, you're going to get some answers that those who don't watch the video are not going to have, because some of the stuff I'm going to say will show up on our questions throughout the week. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about rivers, but we're also going to talk about river systems. And river systems are going to include all the rivers and the smaller streams that supply water to that. So if we look at number 5 here and number 4 here, you can see they kind of meet right in that location. So number 5 and 4 become a river system together. That's important to know. So this is the Mississippi River. I'm sorry, this one is the Missouri River. This one is the Mississippi. So the Missouri coming here, the Mississippi coming here, they meet and they become the Mississippi-Missouri River system. So that's kind of the first key or first kind of hint. You'll see something similar talking about river systems on the questions. We also want to talk about the source, which is the beginning, and that's going to be the highest in terms of elevation. So the highest point of a river is going to be its highest elevation. That's right at the very beginning. The word you'll use, the vocab, will be source. So anytime you see source, think beginning. The lowest in terms of elevation is going to be at its mouth, or where it ends. And so if we look again at the Missouri River, the source is going to be here, right at the very beginning, and the mouth is going to be down here by the Gulf of Mexico. So this will be the highest point, this will be the lowest point. Probably you already knew that. You might not have known some of this, that almost all river water comes from rain or melted snow, and most of water reaches the river indirectly, which means it doesn't like rain or snow right into the river. Water called surface runoff flows over just regular land. So when it just snows or rains on regular land, it kind of goes over the regular land, and then it soaks up into the soil and becomes groundwater. So this water actually ends up underneath the ground. And then that groundwater moves slowly through the ground and into the river. So that's kind of weird. Sometimes we think that it just comes from the streams up in the mountains, and that's true. Some of it does. But a lot of it comes from the groundwater that's just rainwater and snow water that was melting. Other sources of river water can be glaciers or springs or overflowing lakes, those types of things. So where does the river water come from? Those items, okay? We use rivers for a variety of things. We use them for transportation, trade, agriculture, which would be our irrigation, and as a source of power. So we can use that to run plants and those types of things. The longest river, this is one of your answers this week. The longest river is the Nile River in Africa. 4,160 miles long. So if there's a question about the longest river, it's going to be the Nile River. It's located in Africa. And if we look at Africa, we can see it's going to be right here. So here's going to be the source. Here's going to be the mouth. The Amazon River in South America, which is over here, here's going to be the mouth. Sorry, that's going to be the source. That will be the mouth. The Amazon River there is the second largest river in the world. But listen to this. This Amazon has more water than any other river. In fact, it has more water than the Nile and the Mississippi and even the Yangtze, which is over in China, all combined. That's crazy. That's just a lot of water. So the Missouri River is going to be the longest river in the United States, so that might help you. But it's actually a tributary of the Mississippi. It flows into the Mississippi. The Mississippi is going north-south, so this is a tributary because it flows into the Mississippi. The length of the Missouri-Mississippi River system is 3,740 miles long. That combined length makes it the third longest river in the world. So there's a hint for you. This river system that is the Missouri and the Mississippi is the third longest in the world when they're combined. The source of the Missouri is located in Montana. It's in a lake in Montana, so the beginning of it is right here in a lake. And then it flows into the Mississippi right here. And the Mississippi source is Lake Itasca, I-T-A-S-C-A. So Mississippi's source is up here, Lake Itasca, I-T-A-S-C-A. It's in Minnesota. And so the mouth is going to be down here. We're going to call it the Mississippi Delta, and that's in the Gulf of Mexico. So if we're talking about the Mississippi River's source, Lake Itasca, the Mississippi River's mouth is going to be the Mississippi Delta in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, if we look at this map, remember, this is just a sampling of the famous rivers or the biggest rivers. So there's many more rivers in this. So let's go ahead and start looking at Mondays. How many rivers are labeled in the Western Hemisphere? And I just need to, again, know where the Western Hemisphere is. I talked about that last week, so you should know that. I won't go into it this week. You should know where it is already. Count them up. The first part is just going to be a number. So the first answer to number 1 is a number. The second part actually has 2 answers. Which river is the farthest north in the Western Hemisphere, and which river is the farthest south in the Western Hemisphere? So you will actually have 3 answers to Monday number 1. Monday number 2, the longest river in the United States is the Missouri River. Which river is the second longest in the U.S.? And so you're going to have to kind of just eyeball this and be able to determine it. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the river system that we discussed in the introduction. Tuesday number 1, the world's longest river is located in Africa and is about 4,100 miles long. Name this famous river. Well, if you were listening at the beginning of this introduction, we talked about the longest river in the world being the Nile River. So you should already know N-I-L-E, which is the Nile River. It's number 9 down here. That's our answer for Tuesday number 1. The world's second longest river is the Amazon. In which continent is the 4,000-mile river found? So you need to figure out where the Amazon River is and then tell me the continent. So that has 1 answer. Wednesday number 1, which river forms an international boundary between Mexico and the United States? So we know that the United States is in this area. We know that Mexico is in this area. So which river kind of forms the boundary, which means it's kind of dividing the 2 countries. It's the state border almost of one of our states. So the question is, Wednesday number 1, what's the name of that river? Wednesday 2, name the river that links the Great Lakes and the Atlantic Ocean. So the Great Lakes are going to be these lakes up here. They don't show up very well on the map, so I'll show you. The Atlantic is over here. So we have a river in between here and here. What's the name of that river? Thursday. By the way, number 1, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, number 1 and 2, all those are pretty simple. You should be able to with the help of what I just gave you, get 100% so far. Thursday, number 1, the world's 4th longest river has large amounts of yellow silt that is deposited along its course. So it's nicknamed the Yellow River. All right, so one thing I would look at is I would look at the names and see if there's a nickname down here of a Yellow River, and that would kind of give me my answer. There's a hint there for you. Thursday, number 2, name the longest river in the European part of Russia. So Russia, we know, is a huge country. The European part has to be closer to Europe. So what river is kind of in the Europe-Russia area? Friday, number 1, going and talking about a river system again. Which river system in the United States can be called the 3rd longest river in the world? I gave that answer to you in the introduction. So if you need to rewind or if you need to watch it again, that answer for Friday number 1 is located in the intro. And then 2, where are the source and the mouth of the Mississippi River located? So here's what I want. I want the name of the body of water that's the beginning or the source, and then I want the name of the mouth or its ending place. And I did give you that answer at the very beginning or in the introduction anyway, even if it wasn't at the beginning of the introduction. Now, this is again one of about 2 or 3 questions that you couldn't get just from looking at the map. You need this description from me. This is the only place I'm going to deliver this information. So by watching this video, you're able to get that answer too. And really, you should have a 10 out of 10. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing for the people who are watching the videos. They're scoring high week in and week out. So good job. If you have any questions, as always, just hit a reply and let me know, and either I can answer the question or somebody in the class can answer the question, and we can get you a good grade before this is all done. Thanks again for watching.